Morning. I'm sure you'll all be happy to hear that I have finally attained enlightenment. Now, there was something I was thinking about, though, that was rather interesting to my mind, having to do with the notion that we often perceive people as being either right or wrong, which I don't know if it's entirely correct in that people don't pursue courses of action that aren't optimal in their mind. I think it'd be true to say that people can be not entirely correct, which is perhaps kind of the same thing. But that's probably what we would think of as being wrong, being biased in some regard, or being incompletely correct. But the notion would be that people do not follow courses of action that they don't think are right, that don't work, or that aren't true in their mind. It feels like on some level, whatever a person does, whatever they believe, they probably came to that conclusion for some good reason. On an experiential level, whatever they're doing either works, or it's true, or it's right in some regard. So in my mind, rather than trying to disprove someone's beliefs or to dissuade them of their actions, despite the fact that they probably have some good reason to behave that way or act in the way they do, whether or not they can explain it, that might be a different question. But rather than trying to disprove it or tell them no, that's wrong, it might be more. I'm trying to think of the right word. It might be more conducive to just try and help them be more completely right, I guess. That's what I reckon. Congratulations, you have received enlightenment from mine own lips. Mazel tov. All right. We have some stuff to look at today. Video by Dr. K and that fireman guy who I believe I seen on the Community or something. I assume he's an actor as well as a fireman, but I think he has some sort of show about firefighting. Not for sure, and that might have been his original vocation. All right, let's get it. There's some other stuff we're gonna watch too, but that's the first thing here on the docket. All right, yeah, everything Hollywood gets wrong is about firefighters or something. There's probably other stuff in there, but
and then go back in to grab books and they perish in the fire. Yeah, books or personal items, and then go back into. We've had people escape from fires and then go back in to grab books.
yeah, well, don't ever accuse people of being sensible.
And they perish in the fire. Yeah, books or personal items. Yeah, but
to be fair, like I could easily see that. Like it'd be very easy to see that type of thing where like, oh my goodness, I want to grab that one thing that's really important, and if they don't think the fire's too bad, or if they can't see where it's going or whatever, yeah, I could very easily see that happening. So it's maybe not down to the idiocy of the individuals involved. Well, technically maybe a little bit, but it's comprehensible idiocy.
Yeah. So you're never running back in.
Don't run back in the house. No, once you're out.
I just double check and make sure this. I'm hoping.
Out. So
what if your child's in there?
Look, when we say touch the door, if you touch the door and it is scalding your hands, like it is so hot, you can see flames coming out from underneath the door. When you open up that door, you're going to die. Like there's no.
Yeah, that's the thing I've heard of that. Like the notion is the oxygen that gets to the fire, it just like, it'll go nuts, kind of.
Way you're going to make it out to that hallway. If flames are that bad.
Wetting towels, putting them at the door jamb, covering yourself with them, all that's useless.
No. Smoke inhalation is that big issue. When you go out there, those fumes are extremely toxic. You're inhaling all the polyethylene.
I've heard that actually too. A lot, I had mentioned before, but a lot of the people are, well, I say there are people in our church that are first responders. But they would do like training where you would be in a burning building or something like that. I think the one time, I don't know if it's one of our guys or someone just stood up for a second and just breathed in, because you're generally supposed to keep through below the line of smoke or whatever. They just stood up for a second and breathed in that stuff. In like a condensed space, they breathed in that smoke, and it's like they were out like a light. It is crazy how toxic that stuff is. You do not want to be
all the whatever lithium
fiddling with it.
stuff is on fire.
I have 2 air purifiers in my room. Bad idea to turn them on.
I mean,
because they would suck air into the room, but they would also be cleaning the smoke.
They would be.
So I don't know, what is the strategy?
You're gonna die. That's
Welcome back to the Checkup Podcast, where today I'm speaking to Jason Patton, otherwise known as Fire Department Chronicles. He's the most followed firefighter in the world, and for good reason. You probably know Jason's viral and hilarious videos recapping bizarre encounters he's had out in the field as a first responder.
I should go check that out sometime.
Or from his series on YouTube where he green screens himself into firefighter shows and calls them out for their BS face to face. He's easily one of the most charismatic people we've had on the show, but also rich in substance. He's not just some comedy influencer, he's an actor. Actual multi-year veteran of fighting fires and treating.
Okay, I assume he's an actor because I'm like 90% sure I've seen this guy or someone who looked very much like him on the Community. Like, is that not the case?
Patients on the front lines with an incredible amount of insight into the profession. We touched on juicy topics like how much firefighters actually get paid, how to stay safe during a fire, controversial topics like private firefighters for celebrities, and even silly topics
that exists? What the? Okay, that's a thing apparently.
like the pain of sliding down the fire pole. Oh, and of course, the basics.
Fire poles are awesome.
Just to set the ground rules.
Not the
rules straight off the jump. If I catch on fire mid-episode, is it stop, drop, and roll, or are there different strategies now?
Stop, drop, and roll. But I mean, how long do you want me to let you stay on fire?
No, minimal, because I don't have the fire suit on.
Oh, okay, so, okay. I didn't know if this would an epic video.
Dude, I still think of
this might be a different guy. I'm listening to his voice, and it doesn't sound the same way. But he looks like sans hair. He looks exactly like the dude from Community. I don't know who that is.
About the training that I got.
I have to look that up as well.
When I was in middle school in Brooklyn, of dare, stop, drop, and roll. Has any of these things been upgraded, or is it still the same tried and true? Because I think about it from a chest compression CPR standpoint. Is there anything new that folks need to know about personal safety?
No, stop, drop, and roll is great because you're doing the basic things. You're rolling on top of the fire, so you're hopefully able to remove the oxygen from it.
Yeah. Well, the whole notion of rolling. Okay, so like I guess you're kind of stamping on the fire, but I guess maybe you're just supposed to roll around so you get it all. I'm assuming this is in a scenario where you're not just on fire from one side, so you can't just lie on your back or something.
It's funny because you're right in the medical field.
I still remember that. It's one of the most badass scenes from The Hobbit, where I believe they were in the mountain with the dragon. You know what I'm talking about? Where like I think Thorin was. Like, he comes running through the doorway after the dragon's breathing fire or whatever, and his cloak's on fire, and he just, like, shrugs it off. And then he gets up and, yeah, let's go. That was still, like, one of the coolest scenes ever.
Things tend to change constantly. Every 4 years, they're finding out something new. We're adding one extra compression in now. But firefighting, at a constant basis, we're trying to make things as efficient as possible, save as many lives as possible. You look at old firefighting pieces, or at least when we were training, we do forcible entry when we're moving into a structure. And there wasn't a huge emphasis on once you open up that front door with whatever you're using, make sure you close it as quickly as possible until you're ready to go.
Yeah. Again, it's like it just works like a huge air vent for the fire. That's what, like, I would have heard, because like if you can, like, I've never seen that happen, but like the notion would be that if you open that door, it'll just go nuts. This guy's a new air source.
go in with the nozzle. It was just open the door, get in there, fight the fire. But we started to really dive into things called a flow path. So, you know,
Oh, what's that?
if we're opening up the front door to go inside of it, and we just leave it wide open. If that fire happens to be starved of oxygen, then it's going to get a nice influx of oxygen. And then fire really loves O2, it loves oxygen. So it's going to start moving towards that as well. So you create what's called a flow.
Huh. I guess I don't know if I'd have thought of that exactly. I would have thought, like, I'd have heard of it, like, coming out of the door, but, like, I never thought of, like, it would start moving towards the door as well.
Path. So we know if there's a viable victim in that area, we got to make sure we're opening the door, closing it until they're ready to go in with the fire hose or the stretch a line in there, and then go from there.
Yeah, what does it take to become a firefighter? Because, you know, kids frequently say top 3 jobs: doctor, firefighter, police officer, maybe cowboy thrown in there, or astronaut. But
Cowboy astronaut. And that's my dream.
those are the top ones. So what does it take to become
First
a
off, I've learned what it takes to be a cowboy and an astronaut. I'm good,
yeah.
bro. Yeah,
Yeah?
I'm
Okay. Not
nowhere
for
near
you.
smart enough to be an astronaut. No way, dude.
I thought you just didn't like the zero gravity.
No, I would love that.
Oh, that would be, I don't know. The whole notion of being, like, atrophied in space because of it, and then when you come back down to Earth, it's like, maybe once, if they ever figure out gravity in space. You know what? We just watched Hail Mary, which is a really intriguing movie, the way they created gravity. I like the alien too. That's really funny. I like the alien with the laptop voice. To me, that was the funniest. But the way they created gravity by, like, creating a centrifugal type of thing, that was pretty dang cool.
That's, I always say
in my mind, I don't know if it would actually be feasible or not. You probably have to ask someone who knows, but
if I ever get that chance, if it ever becomes affordable and I'm not going to die in the process, or if I do, that would be an epic way to go out. But
You and Jeff Bezos.
just floating around, hanging out, man. It depends on where you're at. So where I'm at, in order to become a firefighter, you need to be an EMT first. The reason is a lot of the.
See, I don't think that would be the case where I live. Like, I don't think you would need to be an EMT. I think they go through a lot of training for first responder or whatever. I guess I could be wrong about the actually becoming, like, a firefighter, but I don't think that would be necessary. I guess I never thought of it. You probably would need some sort of first aid capabilities, I'm assuming. That, because obviously you're dealing with, like, fire victims. Probably need some basic knowledge of that type of stuff.
Calls that you're going to be running to, about 85% of them are going to be medically based. So
Really?
yeah.
So this is breaking news.
See, I wouldn't have thought of that. And maybe it's because, like, it would maybe depend whether you're in the city or not as well. Because, like, I don't live in the city. Because cities are evil. Remember Babylon? Remember Babel? Okay? Cities are evil. But the notion would be that probably in cities, I imagine you'd have a lot more people involved in fires. Just in general.
Firefighter.
So I guess I don't know where this guy is a firefighter from, but in our case, like, most of the times, I can't imagine there being a lot of people actually involved in the fire.
Fighters 85% of the time are not fighting fires.
Surprisingly not. You know, you would think, well, it's amazing with new building constructions, especially down in Florida, sprinkler systems, people finding ways to be able to put out fires on their own, whether it's through extinguishers, but people.
I wonder when they actually came up with fire extinguishers. I think the notion would be that it would be like powdered solutions, and then there's liquid-based ones as well. It's kind of an intriguing. I wonder when they came up with that whole idea.
Have found a very good way to be able to.
It's kind of interesting. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever messed with, like, the different, like, levels of fire, but there's a thing called, like, magnesium fires. Well, it's not like a category, but there are scenarios in which magnesium is on fire. And they say if you spray water on it, it'll just, like, it'll go up. It's crazy the way that works, but you completely counterintuitive. But yeah, you spray water on magnesium that's burning, it'll blow up. Well, I say blow up. It'll start burning probably a lot harder or something. Does not put it out.
prevent fires through proper construction. Wow. So, and then obviously in Florida for us, space heaters, we don't have anything like that. Most of your fires in Florida are going to be kitchen based or cooking based. So for us, you're going to go to EMT school first, then you're going to go to fire school. So Florida, every
fire school
place is a little bit different. With Florida, you actually have to put yourself through fire school and EMT school.
That's I hope you get paid well.
Then apply for a fire department, and then you can be hired for most of the departments that are going to be there. Places like New York, you can be picked up just straight off the street. So a citizen can apply.
Huh. So it might not be a case of like urban versus suburban or rural. It might just be more a case of like local regulations or something. I don't know.
And then FDNY will put you through all of their processes or the.
Okay, so they might still have to go through that stuff in an urban scenario, especially. I might not have been entirely wrong, but he's just saying that they will put you through that stuff.
The surrounding departments.
Is that because it's more in demand here?
No, it's just the way that the different strategies, there's some ways to do it. Every place is going to have.
I feel like, especially with regards to firefighters, you would want to kind of maybe incentivize that. Like, so you would want to pay their way through some of that stuff. As maybe you have too many applicants or something. I don't know.
Their own way of doing it. And
I'm curious because in medical school, you go through medical school, you pay your way, so expensive. And then we have something that's known as the match, where you rank certain programs and then they rank students that they like.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't match, and that's heartbreaking because now you have nowhere
That's unfortunate
to go and you spend all this money. Does that happen where you put yourself through the schools and then no one picks you up?
Yes.
No way. Oh,
That's unfortunate.
oh my God.
Yeah. So I got hired in 2008. It was during the hiring freeze.
Okay.
My mom still talks about this today. So I get through fire. I put myself through EMT, through paramedic school, then through fire school. I graduate fire school. At my closing ceremony, this incredible guy comes up. He starts, it's a chief. He starts giving this a speech. He's like, ladies and gentlemen, it's 2008. This many firefighters have died in the line of duty over the last year, and you are in the worst hiring freeze that we've ever heard of. Good luck. Yeah.
Inspiring.
Was this meant to be inspirational?
I don't know, bro, but like all of us are like, oh no, this is not.
That would
good.
have been a good orientation speech to weed out people who aren't serious, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, so what are you thinking in that moment?
Well, there's something to be said for honesty as well, though. I suppose you can't really fault them for telling the people what it is.
Crap. Is this so?
I guess I tend to think that the notion of giving people false hope is only half so cruel as the notion of taking away people's hope is only half so cruel as giving them false hope. That's my motto.
My instructor, a great guy named Kerry Weiss. He's the day before graduation. He says, "Hey, listen, I work for a department." Or I'm retired from a department, Riviera Beach, and they're opening up their applications. They're actually closing the day after we graduate. So if you want, I would apply. And at the time, they were actually one of the lowest paid in South Florida. And a lot of people were like, I'm not going to go work for a place that.
It feels like beggars can't be choosers, though.
It was $37,000 a year to be a firefighter. Not going to get paid a lot anyways.
Oh, wow. I wonder what that would be with inflation. I'm assuming there would be more, probably.
70% of firefighters are actually volunteers. So most people are doing it for free. So I was like, you know what, man? I'm going to work.
I guess I could see how that would be nasty for firefighters themselves, the people who go through the training, but it's nice that people do volunteer for that sort of thing.
Anywhere and everywhere. So I applied. I actually got picked up. No one else in my class got hired for another 5 years after that.
Is it because you had the best grades, did the most push-ups? What are they grading you on?
All the above.
Really?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Well, I don't know. That's what it's like in medical school.
Is that what in medical school? By the way, the match thing, what is that? I'm curious.
Yeah.
Like, what does that feel like if you're like, I want to be a cardiologist or I want to be this?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you're going to be a podiatrist.
That's unfortunate. Like, that would be something strange. I guess I didn't know that was. I assumed as a doctor you would just go in for certain stuff, but maybe at some point they just say they have you take a test in college or something to see what you match for.
Yeah, well, so you pick the two fields that don't necessarily participate in the match.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, specifically the two, because to be a cardiologist, you first have to match into internal medicine.
Okay.
And then once you finish your internal medicine residency,
Okay.
then you could do a fellowship in cardiology. And podiatry, they have their own medical school altogether.
Oh, okay.
So you pick the two that don't participate. So any other ones, like plastic surgery or surgery,
Okay.
or what's another simple example? OBGYN.
Okay. Okay.
So if you want to go into those, generally you have some sort of sense
Yeah.
when you're putting names into the match process of who you like, where you did your electives. So they know you, you know them.
Okay.
There's kind of a understood boundary of, we can't tell you that we ranked you, but we really like you.
Okay.
So, like, this isn't some sort of test to see. Is this some sort of test to see what they're good at, or are they just saying, okay, so this is where you went, this is what you did there, and this is what we'll see if we like you or not? Like, it's not some.
And you already kind of know.
Yeah.
If you're not well liked and you did a really bad job on your electives and people are like, oh my God, I don't want to work with you, you can get into a bad place. So that's scary.
Yeah.
Because then we have something known as, God, is it called the scramble? I forgot the name.
So it's like, so I'm assuming this is just in a case where everything else being equal, you have doctors who are, technically equally qualified, but because of where they went and what they did there, because of their electives, I guess, maybe that would have something to do with it. Maybe that would have something to do with their competency or stuff like that. That'd be an indicator there. So they choose and rank based on that as well.
Name of it. Clearly I didn't participate.
The craft
in
show.
it. Yeah,
That's what it says.
where you have to then try and find spots, because just like students can go unmatched, spots can go unmatched. So programs that perhaps pay less desirable specialties, family medicine, will have openings.
Okay.
And then you can try and scramble into those openings. So literally program directors are calling students who didn't match. Students are calling program directors, presenting themselves, and hopefully finding a situation where they can get into a program. But if they
That's pretty cool.
don't, off year, you have to go do some research, maybe take a long vacation, and hope you match the following year.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And imagine now you're like 300,000 in debt.
I was going to say.
It's kind of a, I don't know.
Holy crap.
It would not be a nice place to find yourself. Very, very precarious.
Yeah.
With us, so that's a lot of the issues right now with places where you have to put yourself through the schooling in order to get picked up. Because, EMT school is $5,000, depending on where
How
you go
long
to
is
fire
it?
school. EMT school is somewhere between 3 to 6 months. It depends on if you're going full-time or part-time. I was 3 months. Fire school is somewhere between 3 months to 6 months, again, full-time or part-time. And then for medic school, a lot of programs are going to be a year. You can do accelerated programs that are 9 months, but some people do 2-year-long programs.
Oh, I'm not saying that it's nothing, but also it seems comparatively to like doctor or some of those college programs, it's comparatively not as expensive. But still, you probably don't get paid nearly as much either. So it might be kind of in the same ballpark as far as investment versus output.
So
the whole length of it is about 2 years, plus
Roughly,
minus?
yeah.
And the first part was 5,000. What's the total amount for those 2 years?
so when I went, it was about $8,000 to go to medic school.
Okay.
I just happened to be looking at some of that stuff recently. Some places are $25,000 to go to medic
Suck it. Doctors have you beat by a mile.
school. $15,000 would be about your average.
And
but
to go earn $37,000?
nothing. I think the starting pay here for a medic is $43,000 a year or $45,000 a year.
Wow.
I mean, that's nothing in the
that's
state of New York. No, it's not. I mean, when I became a medic, I was making $12 an hour. So there's.
How many years ago was that when you started?
That was 19 years ago, 18 years ago. But
It does seem like, I don't know, give the doctors a bit of a cut, and well, I guess if you're saving people's lives in that regard, maybe it's something that's worth putting money into. But man, police people, teachers, firefighters, we could try to even it out a little bit.
Any idea what that number is now?
it's still somewhere around like the $18 to $20 range. It's not a lot of money for.
Yeah, I mean, you think
what
you
they're doing.
become a barista, it's similar pricing.
Yes.
And you don't have to risk your life.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
Wow. And then, okay, so I was saying it kind of joking.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you wonder, like, in spite of the amount of, like, the investment of time, like, how many of these people are in it for the money, and how many of these people are in it because they think they're doing something good. So I feel like firefighters especially would be something where, like, okay, is any amount of money worth risking your life in that way? Doctors, it's a little bit different. Technically, you work incredibly long hours. It'd be an incredibly annoying job, probably, and you have to watch people die quite often. So maybe that would create a bias or a selection bias of sorts. But I feel like with doctors, you can have a lot of maybe more self-motivated types of individuals involved. But it feels like with regard to firefighters or policemen, there has to be some level of, it feels like, it's depending on the area you're in, there would have to be some level of self-sacrifice involved in that. I think just on principle. So I'm gonna guess that would color the type of people who would want to apply, become part of it.
But is it serious that they grade you based, like, how do they decide who they're taking? What is the logic there?
So what's great is that most of the processes are going to be
I just told you, push-ups. Literally.
relatively long. So you're going to do an application process. That's all your basic stuff, you know, your name, date of birth, all the fun stuff, your certifications that you're going to have. We require something called a CPAT there to make sure that you're physically able to do the job itself.
I do those in my hospital. Yeah.
Do you really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So hold on. You mean
Well, you probably want to make sure that people aren't passing out in the middle of a surgery or something when they're the one operating on stuff. So I'm gonna guess you probably need some sort of health check, probably semi-regularly with both of these jobs.
like it's a physical?
Yeah.
So I perform those physicals on firefighters.
It's a candidate physical ability test.
Yeah.
So.
Well, no. That's different physical.
Okay.
I do the physical where I listen to heart lungs.
Oh,
and
yeah,
do the
we
test,
do that later,
the
yeah.
PFTs and all that
Yes,
stuff,
yeah.
which actually kind of bothers me to some degree because a lot of it is a corporate contract with the city or town or fire department. And I end up doing tests that I would never do on a young person.
Yeah.
Because it's a legality. Like I'm doing stress tests on young folks. And I'm like, dude, you exercise. That is it. But you have to do it based on the rules. Did you have to
I don't know exactly what the stress test would be.
do any of that?
Oh
kind
yeah,
of stuff?
yeah.
Okay.
So you'll do that. You'll do the application. You'll make sure that you have your CPAT. Then when you put that in, what's new now is the social media piece of it. Like because they're doing full background checks.
Are they trying to see who has the most followers?
Yeah. I mean, yes. No, God, could you imagine? No, a lot of times they're like, I don't want that person.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. No,
I could very easily see that, like where you wouldn't want some sort of like YouTube celebrity type or influencer type, especially these days. Man, they have such a bad name. So the notion of like bringing on someone who not only is an influencer, but who's also kind of, because they're an influencer, they're kind of their own sort of maybe juggernaut inside the station a little bit, like a competing authoritative force on some level because of their influence, because of their popularity. I could see how you would really maybe not want that.
I just want to make sure there's nothing ridiculous going
Got it.
on. I
Okay.
mean, if you are,
So they request your social handles or they find them on their own?
no, they're going to request them. Tell us
Okay,
if they're.
got it.
There's a department, I won't name it, but a department that I applied for while I was waiting to hear back from my department. It was the application. Then I did the physical piece of it a written test. And the written test, I was surrounded by, mind you, this was the hiring freeze. There was nobody around.
Right.
So I was surrounded by about 3,000 other applicants. It was absolutely insane.
For how many positions?
About there's 20,
Dozens?
20 positions.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah, it's bad.
crazy.
Yeah. So
It's worse than medical school.
dude, it was
Yeah. That's
one of those where you sit down and you're like, holy crap, this is
So you're the best of the best. Like you're the finest. You're the Navy SEAL of a medic.
I wouldn't call me a Navy SEAL. Anyone watching this has met me, be like, please not a Navy SEAL.
he does have a tattoo. So.
But so you go through that process, and this is for again a different department. But once
Isn't that sorry?
you finish that
No shade on Navy SEALs.
piece, then you go through a physical test, which is it took you about 2 hours to get through the full physical piece of it. It's search and rescue, finding a victim, stretching a line, knocking down hoses, extending a ladder, like all these different things. Once you pass that, they put you through a lie detector. Yeah.
That is surprising. I would have thought well, I guess maybe it shouldn't surprise me.
The lie detector to make
And
sure.
what are they asking? Are you afraid?
No, no. Like, have you ever smoked marijuana?
Okay,
Yeah, the basic stuff. So they'll ask you that.
Which now they're probably not asking that question.
No, Florida still.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
you can get your medical marijuana card, but
Got it.
It is so drug usage in general would probably be something they would want to know about because, like, as I understand it, marijuana is it's still kind of a psychoactive. They'll probably ask you if you drink or smoke or anything like that as well. So I don't think it's really that much off the reservation if they were like, yeah, have you smoked marijuana? Have you ever taken drugs? Have you ever done anything else that would? Yeah, I could easily see that.
they just.
Well, in New York, it's crazy. Like every corner, it seems like.
I saw that.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah. It's still crazy for me. So.
Yeah.
I've also heard a thing where like marijuana affects your level of ambition. That's kind of a intriguing sort of notion. Like again, I would get the idea that marijuana is a psychoactive drug. Like it does affect your brain on some level, but I suppose drinking and smoking also affects your brain. But I don't think it's to the same extent. I think marijuana is it's more in the category of something that would actually mess with you. Well, maybe it's just different because getting drunk obviously affects a lot of people in a certain way. But that's more just lethargy or slowing you down, lowering inhibitions. I don't know. I've gotten the idea that like people who take marijuana can literally get like a bad trip or something, or they can start getting like schizophrenia or something from it. Maybe it's just different, but obviously like I don't know.
We'll talk
Don't listen to me on that part.
about that in a minute. But once you did that, you had to do another interview panel. Then you did another lie detector test to make sure that you didn't lie on anything in between there. Like it just huge. So some places really want to make sure that they're hiring the best of the best, which is obviously great. My department was an interview with an interview panel. They went through a bunch of questions. Then I had to do an interview with the chief, make sure that I was good for the job, and then they signed me
Wow,
on.
what a multi-step process.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Did you worry about any of that application process through it?
Not really. I mean,
You were just like, I am who I am.
yeah, that thankfully that's kind of the way I've lived most of my life. Is just I am who I am. I've tried to grow. I've tried to become a little more focused internally and make sure that I'm taking care of my own mental health, and then as well as other people. Just my wife is about to get her master's degree in family therapy, so
Nice.
it's
nice or not nice. I don't know. Like, there's part of me that would never want to marry a woman psychologist just because, like, goodness. I mean, psychoanalyze me the whole time.
very cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the difference? And this,
Like, obviously, you don't want a dummy, but marrying a psychologist, a head shrinker?
this is my lack of knowledge, so I apologize on that behalf. Paramedic.
To be fair, that there are guys who do want to marry dummies, or to whom it's perhaps not a great concern as to the intellectual level of their wife.
EMT.
There's hope for all of us. Just saying.
People say, don't you ever say ambulance driver, but then in some places they have someone dedicated to drive the ambulance. So
Yes.
what is the
Like the getaway driver.
difference? How does one understand the difference? And take me through that journey.
No, of course. So ambulance driver is just, or they call it stretcher fetchers. That's my favorite.
That's pretty funny.
Everyone. So
actually, you guys can watch the rest of yourself if you want. Yeah, everything Hollywood gets wrong about firefighters. Fire Department Chronicles. Fire Department Chronicles, I assume is this guy. Or that's his channel, in any case. So you can go look up his channel if you like. Go check out the rest of this video if you want to. And we're back. This one is a video by the Corridor Crew. VFX artists react to bad and great CGI. 2030? What does 2030 mean? Actually, I'm gonna look that up. Alright. 2030, featuring Alec Gillis, who I do not know, but I thought this would be interesting, so you're along for the ride. Alright, let's do this.
And it was glowing pretty damn effectively.
The blood was actually glowing on set?
And it was glowing pretty damn effectively.
See, that's the thing. I would have thought, like, how do you get something to glow? I feel like that would inevitably be poisonous, right? Like phosphorescence or something like that. So I like just you kind of hear horror stories about stuff on set and the stuff they would get actors to do back in the day, but I'm hoping they're safer these days. But there was some dude, I think it was the Tin Man for Wizard of Oz. Yeah, I think it was the Tin Man for Wizard of Oz that literally got sick because of the paint or something. I don't know if he ended up dying or not. No, not for sure. But I know there was some kerfuffle over that thing where someone was getting like they were allergic to the paint or something. It's not a cool scenario.
That's a painting.
What? Oh, whoa!
Yes.
So everything we're seeing is practical in the shot.
Everything's
That's pretty good. I don't know if I would have noticed that.
practical.
What's the secret to making a burnt corpse?
That could kill us all.
No.
That's pretty cool.
Welcome to VFX Artist React. You may not know me, but you know Ren at least.
So I'm reacting to a reaction. I think it's my first time-ish. So, yes, I feel hashtag blessed.
You don't know this guy either, but trust me, you will soon.
Very meta.
Because you definitely know his movies.
That was a good one. So the first Jumanji. I guess I don't like. I really do like the new ones as well. But there's something about the 90s. I guess this is 1995. Something about the 90s movies that has a flavor to it, kind of not a wholesome. I don't know. More. I don't know how to describe it, but there's a type of. There's something, a je ne sais quoi, there. An endearing characteristic, perhaps.
Wash you like a bug.
Well, there's something about, I think back then they probably used mostly practical effects that had been before, like the advent of a lot of CGI type stuff. And that might add something to it as well. Never watched Alien Romulus.
My name is Alec Gillis. I'm a creature effects designer and creator. I've been doing it for decades upon decades. Movies like the original Aliens, Starship Troopers, the Santa Claus series. What else?
Are you growling at me?
I've worked on more Predator
Reindeer don't growl.
movies than any living human. And that's not a brag.
That's a hell of a phrase.
More recently, Prey, the Predator film, and Badlands, the
Badlands,
Predator
dude,
film.
we are definitely going to talk about Badlands.
So this is your first hunt.
Predator Badlands, it was probably one of my favorite movies I saw last year.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is Dan.
I've heard different things about that one. I think people thought, like, tonally it was utterly different than the other movies. And consequently, I think they didn't like it. I guess, I don't know if you would have... That's the weird thing about movies. The notion would be that, like, if this is the first thing you see of Predator, and the first one you really like, the question of originality is more question of, like, what got there first. So if I see this movie first of all the Predators, I'm not judging it in light of the previous ones or in light of all that stuff. So I think that really would have to do with the way you view it as its own thing, rather than the successor, the spirit, or what is supposed to be the spiritual successor to a dynasty of sorts.
Dan Trachtenberg has a vision. The risk is that the more you learn about these predators, the less mysterious they are. And then you have to be very careful.
That's kind of interesting too, because I do agree with that notion that it lends itself to a degree of variability, mystery, that is. It lends itself to a degree of variability in that the person who's watching, the person who's reading, whatever, can fill in all the blank spaces with what they would fill it in, with what they think would be practical or logical in that scenario. And the more you reveal, I think the more potential there is to disappoint, the more potential there is to kind of force perspective on the person watching that they might not like. I feel like that's inevitably a danger with exploring what would have been initially a very mysterious type of thing.
Careful, where are we going with these characters? We have to make sure they don't just become Klingons.
Right.
Or, they don't become orcs.
Looks like
Mm-hmm.
meat's back on the menu, boys.
These are digital faces with real practical costumes, all made by Weta Workshop. This was shot in New Zealand. It was my first time to go down there and work with Weta, and it was great to see what they bring to it.
Excuse you, sir.
That's what you call sexual assault.
Those eyes, I think, are so compelling. And Demetrius,
That's kind of cool. The eyes are cool.
who played the role, wore contact lenses. That way you could see his face and his performance. Demetrius has huge eyes, and he can open his eyes.
Who's that guy that has like, I think he's an Egyptian or Syrian or something from the Middle East actor. Rami Malek. That guy has some creepy eyes, honestly.
Really wide.
Okay.
Hanging on to the wild eyes was a really great move. That's what gives him the intensity of a predator.
He seems like a nice guy. I'm just saying that guy has some like, I don't know what it is. It's just the wideness or what.
This is the kind of the decisions, the creative decisions that you have to make if you want to make your monster a main character and empathetic. You have to be able to empathize with them, and the eyes is like that's the portal.
Risky.
I heard that there were some complaints. I guess maybe I tend to watch the more cynical side of cinema review channels and whatnot. But I heard there were complaints about the universal translator, which apparently worked more like magic than some sort of universal translator. I'm not sure.
The soul.
Yeah.
I'm looking at some goo here. I'm taking a look at some of this new goo, and it's glowing. Is any of this practical?
Oh, well, the blood, which traditionally glows.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
There was practical glowing blood, but we've been finding why work with that. It all gets back to like what if the blood, it has a glow stick,
Right.
That particular stuff has a lot of glycerin in it. And it's oily, and when it gets into foam latex, it just starts rotting it, so it turns it into sludgy, slimy.
It's also really hard to
Huh. I never thought of that actually, but that could be an issue.
photograph like glow.
I still think there's something to practical effects that just because like the notion of CGI, the idea would be that, like there's no substitute for authenticity. The way reality moves and the way that makes it plausible in our minds. I think when you're trying to create that in an artificial environment, like the question is, are you ever going to really do a sufficient job to replicate what would occur with just some sort of practical effects? That realism or that sense of realism. Like, will you ever be able to accurately represent it with just a CGI rendering of it?
Glow stick,
It is.
glow.
It is.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
really tough.
Broad daylight cannot at all.
do it.
And a lot of this movie does take place in the daytime.
Yeah.
That's another interesting thing that I learned on Prey.
Whatever did this, I can kill it.
Now, this was
Yeah, I think there were people who didn't like that one either.
all actually glowing.
The blood.
Again, I wonder how much of that has to do with just the fact that there were movies that came before, and this is very much seemingly a kind of tonal shift, or in some people's eyes, a betrayal of the past movies. I think I watched like the very beginning part of the original one with like Arnold Schwarzenegger and all those guys, but yeah, never really got into them that much, so I have no beef here.
Was actually glowing on set.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was glowing pretty damn effectively.
Oh, cool. And this was glow stick fluid?
It's the same chemicals.
same.
It gets very bright. However, it's been enhanced because it is super glowy.
It's very.
You guys ever hear of the notion of foxfire? I thought it was kind of an interesting idea.
Very, very glowy.
For Prey,
I'm thinking of some sort of moss or fungi.
we did all of the design work and the build.
Wow.
Okay.
Creating it. We love the original Predator. However, it is a very familiar face now. So if you're looking to surprise people, you kind of have to do something a little different.
So you brought something from Prey? Is that what
I did.
Yeah.
I did bring something from Prey. That could kill us all, so be careful.
You wouldn't dare. You wouldn't dare.
Everybody, evacuate!
Pretty cool.
This is the net ball
It's supposed to be.
that the feral predator carries, and it dices you, it cubes you.
Yeah.
Okay, that's horrifying. But...
Yes.
Oh. Yeah, there it is. Look at it go. It's like a little.
Oh yeah, there you go.
And we,
Okay.
this became a little bit of perhaps overkill.
That's nasty. I remember watching, I think it was an NCIS episode where they had like some sort of weird garrote mechanism that they would slip around the person's neck that would just slowly kind of cut their head off. Well, I don't know if it would do it slowly or what. But the idea, yeah, it's that something about that notion of like wires wrapping around and then just, that is unsettling.
Because that's a digital version of this.
But like
we
you
did shoot it.
designed this, right?
Yeah.
Like
Me and the team, I have very talented people that make me look good. So I think Justin Goby Fields was involved in this. But I thought, let's build another one that's just a stunt one that's foam. So it doesn't look that great, but you can squeeze it down into your hand. And that's the one we use. So Dane had it in his palm, and he does that, and it just sort of appears, which is cool when he throws it. This is the bone mask.
the bone mask.
And what's kind of cool about this, Dan loves bone shapes and skulls and stuff, and so he wanted to make sure that this had a feel of an actual skull.
Looks like the cranium of something. I'm not sure, like, that wouldn't be, that's not supposed to be the cranium of an actual alien or not like a predator, right? Maybe it would be the mask of, or it's supposed to be the skull of an alien. That's how they kind of, like a weird, like, type thing, right? I know. It says feral predator, that's what they're saying, right? So probably just collects different, I don't know.
Skull of a creature that he's just sort of hollowed out.
Can this actually like slip on a head?
No, but it hangs on my office wall.
Oh my goodness!
How do you like it?
Dude, this is awesome. This is so cool. This is.
Oh, look, it's on. It's on you. No one has ever done this before.
So is this something that you start off digitally designing?
We did.
So like the digital sculpt is just kind of like a foundation.
Yeah.
And then you print it out, you get all the physical form, and then you really make it screen ready.
Yes.
And then you rescan it.
Yeah, and we rescan it and they use it in the, for the visual effects. Sometimes we'll design things strictly for the digital use. And we never make a practical component. But we worked on some of the Godzilla movies that way.
We actually used Adam's design for the chest burster that we used in our short for the CG version as well.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Again, that's creepy.
Right, yeah, because you had the whole model.
Exactly. We had the whole model already, so it was a great starting point for us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
very
why
similar.
not? Why not?
Why not?
The bottom line with these franchises is they're not mine.
I want to see if there's anything more my speed in here. Epidemic, Pumpkinhead, Tremors, Starship Troopers. I'm going to look at the Tremors part here. See what that one looks like.
You two went on to start Amalgamated Dynamics.
Right, in 1988.
Okay.
Tremors was our first feature film as ADI after we left Stan Winston.
No scientist can explain it. Bert, they're under the ground!
So we had to design something that looked like it could have been possibly an ancient dinosaur-like creature.
That looks like sandworms from Dune. I never actually watched the movies, but I'm pretty sure that's what a sandworm would look like.
Something could be alien or something created through nuclear waste. So that's kind
Makes sense.
of where we started.
To be fair, the notion of sandworms might not be that original either.
Must be a million of them.
Just a worm that goes in the sand. Do worms actually eat their way through stuff, or do they just slide?
Nope, just one.
There's full scale and miniatures in that scene. So if you
that's creepy.
If you go back, so this is the full scale. That's out in Lone Pine. And that's a miniature with a painted backdrop, hand painted backdrop. Yeah.
Again, I don't think I would have noticed that.
That's a painting. Isn't that gorgeous?
Whoa!
Yes, a guy sat there and painted that.
So everything we're seeing is practical in this shot.
Everything's
like the whole
practical.
thing is you guys just photographed this exactly as it is.
And it was a guy who was.
Well, that's like, okay, so I'm a fan of the notion of practical effects, but I feel like the scale matters too. Because, okay, so I'm thinking, what was it? There was something where they were doing, but the notion would be, I think that I tend to think the notion of scale would matter with regards to the weight of everything in the picture and how it's going to behave with regards to gravity and how that's all going to mess with physics. If you do it down a scale, if you scale it down to like a very miniature type of thing, it's going to behave differently. And I'm going to guess you could probably see some of that stuff in older films, perhaps. I know in Hogan's Heroes, a lot of times you can see them using the same explosions for different scenarios. For that matter, they use the same actors for different characters as well, so still love it as a show. But practical effects back then were probably more expensive or just something they weren't willing to do.
It's like a great scenic painter who came out and he did it at the spot where we were shooting.
Whoa, what?
Yeah.
You're like, all right.
It might have.
Roll up to set. He's like, all right, guys, I'm going to make a painting.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a photo-real version of exactly what's in front of us.
And you see the bullet.
Okay, so I'm assuming that was switching from like something
Version
more
of
real.
exactly
So this is probably real, right?
what's in front of us.
And you,
I feel like that might be the essence of some of this stuff, where like if they have the basic backdrop and they can get it down, like because you see something that is real first, you might not look so hard at the backdrop here. So I'm gonna guess there would maybe be a formula to that, where you want to show the real thing, the real backdrop, the real scenery first, and then after that, once you have the backdrop in your mind, people aren't going to focus as much on it, and they'll be able to stick with the plot. It's like in this scenario, basically you would be focusing on the worm, not anything back here, because you already would have thought you had that in your mind. It's an interesting notion.
see the bullet hits, the dust hits that are hitting?
Yeah.
That's Robert Skotak with a little BB pistol shooting into the dirt.
Okay.
So that worm we're seeing in the foreground, what's the scale of that?
If only we had something that represented that worm.
Yeah, if only.
Wait.
We could get our hands on that worm. Here you go.
Yeah.
Whoa.
This is cast from our molds of the quarter scale worm.
So this is the
Mm-hmm.
size of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. We had two different types of puppets. One was a cable-operated puppet that was very snake-like in its movements. And then we had another one that we used even more, which was just a hand puppet that you reached in and you grabbed onto a handle. And
That'd be hard, maybe, because you'd have to be sure to frame it right. But maybe it works better. Maybe it's easier to operate.
did this,
All right.
and that scene that we just watched, that's mostly the hand puppet with a little bit of the cable puppet. We had to believe that these things could move underground.
Okay.
Because the idea was that you could get a lot of implication of monster just by having things reacting on the surface.
Totally.
We call
That is interesting. Like the way you would do that, because like it would maybe be a lot harder to actually get like a thing of the whole thing of creating like a line of sand that's just like that would probably be more difficult.
it free monster. It's totally Jaws, right?
Jaws, yep.
The
Jaws.
barrels from Jaws.
It's interesting, rather ingenious. Not to knock on the Indians. Sorry. Shows where my mind is.
That's full scale.
It's a compliment.
You'll
It's a compliment.
see a miniature here in a second. That.
Oh.
One of the things that was important to us is that we had to shoot the miniatures outdoors because
Right.
you can't really replicate single source
Yep.
sunlight
Totally.
Yep.
indoors.
And I see like
Mm-hmm.
how using natural light as much as possible for the miniature stuff is super important here, because you are very often cutting from full scale to miniature to full scale back to miniature. And
so this wouldn't have been like an actual stage, right? This would have been something. That's what I'm getting, right? They would have done this outside. See, I feel like these days they would be able to do that, maybe, but I guess inside there would be a lot of light, generally speaking. And maybe they wouldn't have been able to do all the stuff they do these days. That's an interesting notion, though.
the same sequence of shots.
Yes.
And it's seamless too. In these sequences, it's absolutely seamless. I can't tell without you being here pointing out the moments that are miniature and full scale. I can't tell which is which.
And if they're action beats, you get away.
I don't know if I'd be able to tell either, but I feel like there would be someone who could tell, because in a miniature scale type thing, the scale of the debris is going to behave differently because it doesn't have the same weight as something that would be a larger scale.
With it. You totally get away with it.
Yep. We made a dune sandworm in miniature, right? And we were trying to sell it as this full-scale sandworm. So there were a couple of challenges that we had to tackle. One of those was the sun. It's really hard to mimic a sun, and we had to do it in a studio. But there was another aspect of it that was super tough to get right, and that was the sand. Because sand is granular, right? But it is a certain size at full scale, but how do you scale down sand?
We use Fuller's Earth.
Really?
Interesting. The only time I've ever heard of Fuller's Earth is in a Sherlock Holmes thing where they were. Actually, I think it was a red herring, because they were trying to get someone to fix a press that they were using to make Fuller's Earth into bricks or whatever. But it turned out they were actually coiners, forgers. Interesting story. Worth a look if you ever get a chance. I forgot what it's called.
Fuller's Earth is scaled down sand.
So we actually ended up using walnut powder.
Walnut powder is great.
Yeah.
Huh. Again, ingenious.
Yep.
I feel like lately Fuller's is not as popular because it's more abrasive.
Yeah, but it's crazy how much little stuff you have to think about when you're thinking about little stuff. This scene is
That's a big worm.
great.
That's full scale, busting through the wall, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be, because like obviously there's the woman. I think there's a woman right there, so that would.
We have a full-scale human in the foreground, right? So
Right. So we knew we needed to get that connective tissue there.
Because you'd only. Again, it feels like you would only have to do something like that once to really sell it, probably, and the rest of the time people are just they're gonna let that realism carry over maybe a little bit.
But for the more athletic stuff, that's a miniature.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's miniature hand puppet.
That's arm scale?
Yeah.
That's the scale of that miniature shot, is arm scale? It really does.
You ruined it.
Does intercut perfectly.
It's seamless.
Like, I
Freaking
couldn't tell.
seamless. The level of magic tricks happening all in one sequence.
Oh, that one. We got to dissect that.
Yes.
This is really cool. You analyze this. You analyze this for me. It is a miniature worm, but it starts with the gun hitting the ground.
Okay.
So he throws the gun down. There's the gun, and then pan, and boom, miniature.
It's either a whip pan cut.
It's a jump cut, right?
Yeah.
So you're basically cutting on the motion blur and you're
we
whipping
go.
into the miniature.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
It's all right there. It's all right there.
I saw the cut. Whoop.
You guys are good. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Oh, that was pretty smooth. I don't know if I would have gotten that. Like at all if I wasn't looking for it.
Yeah.
Flips out. Yeah.
You guys have really sharp eyes.
A lot of practice.
Yeah, look at that. I love
love
that.
it. The
So
jiggle.
the jiggle was like so.
The jiggle physics.
And that's like directly related to the thickness of the rubber and the power of the explosive squib. Like in a full.
So I've heard the word squib before, but I don't think I've ever heard it in America. Like the notion would be like a firecracker, just like something like that. But I think that's what it is, anyways.
Full scale, you'd need a much more powerful squib, and you probably wouldn't get that. But this we opted for
Interesting.
full scale because of the scale of the sparks.
Yeah, like the smoke as it's like leaving the mouth as it goes upwards, it's hard to mimic that type of smoke interaction
That's right.
in miniature. This is like a gold mine of like really cool behind.
So I'm just looking at how he was holding that gun when it went off.
Smoke interaction.
That's a bit of a weird stance, but all right.
That's right.
In miniature. This
didn't look like the butt was actually settled onto his shoulder, but I mean, theoretically, if you're really panicked, that kind of makes sense.
is like a gold mine of like really cool behind the scenes information about this. Like, I don't know how much of this is even available to the public.
You're also shooting in a desert, pretty remote, bringing these huge full-scale worms to the desert. What was that like?
It was like a couple of rider vans. We just drove up to Lone Pine, and that's what we worked out of.
Yeah, and you just kind of staged them there, all the
and we were also building things.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's like you had like some sort of property, you're building a town.
Yeah,
sure.
But we weren't just doing that.
I guess that would be like comparatively expensive to, again, I still think there is something to the notion of practical effects just because it's, you know, yeah, again, it's authentic.
We were making pipe bombs.
What is that weird acting technique for checking the consistency or like the internal consistency of a person's environment or something? Some sort of method.
And we were blowing shit up, and
you're in a desert. Why not?
Yeah, because that's what we're thinking. We're like, this is a camping trip.
I'm gonna start moving out now.
Like that.
That honestly does seem like a lot of good fun.
So
throwing grenades at each other and shit. Yeah, awesome. I love it.
The lessons learned, right?
Yeah, live and learn.
If only he used his powers for good instead of evil.
There's something that this...
You guys can check out the rest of this if you like. Yeah. Corridor Crew. I've been meaning to... I came across these guys a while back, and I'd watched a little bit of one of their videos, I think, but I kind of want to watch more of them because this is a really interesting type of science. VFX artists react to bad and great CGI in 2030. In 230? Featuring Alec Gillis. Again, I didn't know who he was, but I do now. All right. Moving on. Mata Hari. Completely related. All right. Mata Hari. Margareta. I'm assuming Margarita. Margareta. Gertrudia. McLeod. What the Harry? Nazella. That's. I'm assuming that's her maiden name. Better known by the stage name Mata Hari. Dutch for son. Eye of the Day was a Dutch exotic dancer and courtesan who was convicted of being a spy for the Germans during World War I. She was executed by, for a second I thought it said flirting squad. That would be something. Execution by flirting squad. No, sorry. It's obviously someone's dying, but man. In France. The idea of a beautiful exotic dancer, using her powers of seduction as a spy made her name synonymous with the femme fatale. Mata Hari's story has inspired books, films, and other works. Later I'd probably imagine she inspired an entire genre of villainous. Later biographers argue that she was convicted and condemned because the French army needed a scapegoat, and that the files used to secure her conviction contained falsifications. Some have even stated that she could not have been a spy and was innocent. Interesting. All right, Margarita Gertruda, I think that's how you say it, was born on the 7th of August, 1876 in Leeuwarden, a city north of the Netherlands, to and her husband, Adam Zelle. She had 3 younger brothers, Johannes Hendricks, Eric, Aria, Anne, and Cornelius Conrad. Okay, well, Are these second names here? Or something? I'm assuming they're probably just second names or something. She was affectionately called Migrit by her family, despite traditional assertions that Matahari was partly of Jewish, Malay, or Javanese, Indonesian descent. Scholars conclude that she had no Jewish or Indonesian ancestry, and both, I'm gonna guess it's the Jewish scholars that came up with that, probably, those crafty Jews. And both of their parents were Dutch. Her father owned a hat factory and shop, made investments in the oil industry, and became affluent enough to give Margarita and her siblings a lavish early childhood. That included exclusive schools until the age of 13. Soon after, Zele's father went bankrupt in 1889. Her parents divorced. Her mother died in 1891. Her father remarried in Amsterdam on the 9th of February 1893 to Susanna Katharina ten Hove, I don't know, something. The family fell apart, and Zele was sent to live with her godfather, Mr. Vizier, in Sneek. She studied to be a kindergarten teacher in Leiden, but when the headmaster began to flirt with her conspicuously, she was removed from the institution by her godfather. A few months later, she fled her uncle's home to her uncle's home in The Hague. What's The Hague? It's the capital city of South Holland, province of the Netherlands, with a population of over 500,000. It is the third largest city in the Netherlands, situated. So you always hear about it in conjunction with war crimes, right? That's what I heard. I assumed like the Netherlands mostly stayed out of World War probably 1 and 2, I think. So they would have kind of considered the neutral zone a little bit. At 18, Zele answered an advertisement in a Dutch newspaper placed by a Dutch colonial army captain, Rudolf MacLeod, who was living in the Dutch East Indies, later Indonesia, and was looking for a wife. Holy crap, she literally just answered an advertisement for a wife. It's like the OG dating app. Zele married MacLeod. I'm assuming that, I don't know. MacLeod, I don't know. I'm going to say MacLeod. In Amsterdam on the 11th of July, 1895. He was the son of Captain John Brannan MacLeod, a descendant of the Gesto branch of the MacLeods of Skye. I don't know any of this, and it doesn't mean anything to me, since so probably would be MacLeod. Hence his Scottish surname. His wife, Baroness Dina Louisa Sweets de... So this is his father, right? His father married a baroness. All right. The marriage enabled Zele to move to the Dutch upper class and placed her finances on a sound footing. Okay, so the baroness is getting the better finances? I don't know. She moved with her husband to Malang on the east side of the islands of Java, traveling out of the SS. They had 2 children, Norma John MacLeod and Louise Joanne MacLeod. Wait, so this is Matahari moving into the Dutch upper class and placed her finances on a sound footing, right? She was marrying into a baroness's family. Okay. It makes more sense now. The marriage was overall a disappointment. MacLeod was an alcoholic and physically abused Zele and blamed her, I'm just to say Matahari from now on, and blamed her for his lack of promotion. He openly kept a concubine, a socially accepted practice in the Dutch East Indies at the time, where Rudolf was posted to Medan. Matahari and the children remained in Tobepe with the family of Mr. Van Reed, the government comptroller. Comptroller? Okay, what is that? I probably could just look at that. Here. A comptroller used in the title of some financial officers. Okay, so it's a financial guy. Probably one of her Jewish compatriots. Just saying. The friends of Matahari in the Netherlands recall her writing to them around this time to say that she had taken the name Matahari. The friends of Matahari in the Netherlands recall her writing to them around this time to say that she had taken the name Matahari, word for sun in the local Indonesian, literally eye of the day. At McLeod's urging, Zeller returned to him, but his behavior did not change. In 1899, their children fell violently ill from complications relating to the treatment of syphilis. What the? So their parents had sexual diseases, and that's a ringy deal, man. That's not cool. Though the family claimed an irate servant poisoned them. Okay, Janine survived. What is this? That's not Janine. Juan, I don't know, survived, but Norman died. Some sources maintain that one of McLeod's enemies may have poisoned their supper to kill both of their children. After moving back to the Netherlands, the couple officially separated on the 30th of August, 1902. Their divorce became final in 1906, and Matahari was awarded custody of... Okay, what? How do you pronounce this? This is annoying me. This seems like it should be simple, but I can't, picture it. Jean?
I'm a first-generation college graduate and earning my degree online from Oregon State University.
You are looking at Julian's pronunciation guide, where we look at how to pronounce better some of the most mispronounced
It sounds like ASMR.
Words in the world, like this other curious word. But how do you say what you're looking for today? We are looking at how to pronounce this French female name. Yes, it's a name of French origin, and it has to be said the way it is in France as Jeanne. Jeanne, like so Jan. It's not a just.
It's like Jan with more letters. What the hell is wrong with the French? All right. Like John/Jan. A mixture of the two somehow. Jean was legally required to pay child support, but never did. Once Jean visited Rudolph, he did not return her to her mother. Matahari did not have the resources to fight the situation and accepted it, believing that while Rudolph had been an abusive husband, he had been a good father. Jean later died at the age of 21, possibly from a complication related to syphilis. Well, I can maybe skip this part and just jump to the part where she starts becoming a... whatchamacallit? A spy. I could maybe start on here. By about 1910, critics' opinion of the success and dazzling features of the popular Matahari were due to a cheap exhibitionism. Yeah, sounds about right. Like OnlyFans girl. She was the OG OnlyFans girl. Doing it before it was cool. Matahari's career went into decline after 1912. On the 13th of March, 1915, she performed her last show of her career. She had begun her career relatively late as a dancer and had started putting on weight. However, by this time, she had become a successful courtesan, a prostitute with a courtly, wealthy, or upper-class clientele. Okay. Known more for her sensuality and eroticism than for her classical beauty. She had relationships with high-ranking military officers, politicians, and others in influential positions in many of the countries. Her relationship and liaisons with powerful men frequently took her across international borders. Before World War I, she was generally viewed as an artist and free-spirited bohemian. So I've heard the word bohemian. It is a social and cultural movement that has at its core a way of life away from society's conventional norms and expectations. The term originates from the French Bohemian, spread from English-speaking world. It is used to describe a non-traditional style of life, I guess. I assume that's what it is. Espionage. During World War I, the Netherlands remained neutral as a Dutch subject. Mata Hari was thus able to cross national borders freely. To avoid battlefields, she traveled between France and the Netherlands via Spain and Britain, and her movements inevitably attracted attention. During the war, Mata Hari was involved in what was described as very intense romantic sexual relationships with Captain Vadim Maslov, a 23-year-old Russian staff captain of the 1st Special Infantry Regiment, serving with the French, whom she called the love of her life. Maslov was part of the 50,000-strong Russian expeditionary force sent to the Western Front in the spring of 1916. In April 1916, Maslov was wounded fighting in the ill-fated Nivlis offensive to capture the German-controlled fortified Brittmont range, losing his sight in his left eye, leading Mata Hari to ask for permission to visit her wounded lover at the hospital where he was staying near the front. As a citizen of a neutral country, Mata Hari would not normally be allowed near the front. Mata Hari was met by agents of the Deuxième Bureau, who told her it would be allowed to see Maslov if she agreed to spy for France. Okay. Before the war, Mata Hari performed as Mata Hari several times before Crown Prince Wilhelm, the eldest son of Kaiser Wilhelm II. And normally, a senior German general on the Western Front, believed she could obtain information by seducing the Crown Prince for military secrets. In fact, his involvement was minimal. It was the German government propaganda that provided the image of the Crown Prince as a great warrior, worthy successor to the... That provided the image of the Crown Prince as a great warrior, the worthy successor to the House of Hohenzollern. Princess. All right. Monarchs who had made Prussia strong and powerful. And they wanted to avoid publicizing that the man was expected to be the man expected to be the next Kaiser was a playboy noted for womanizing, partying, and indulging in alcohol, who spent a portion of his time associating with far right-wing politics. What did far right-wing at that point mean? Ultra-conservatism, authoritarianism, ultranationalism, anti-communism, ethnic nationalism. All right. So they didn't want that guy associated with it. All right. And intended to have his father declare, with the intention to have his father declared insane and deposed. Wow. Okay. So simultaneously inept and ambitious. It's a great combination. Unaware that the Crown Prince did not have much to do with the running of the army group Crown Prince or the Fifth Army, the inept French Intelligence Bureau offered Mata Hari 1 million francs if she could seduce him and provide France with good intelligence about German plans. Mata Hari's contact with the Bureau was Captain Georges Ladeau, who later emerged as one of her principal accusers. Okay. In November 1916, she was traveling to Spain aboard the steamship Zealandia, where the ship was called at a British port of Falmouth in Cornwall. She was arrested and taken to London, where she was interrogated at length by Assistant Commissioner Sir Basil Thompson of the Metropolitan Police. Sir Basil, sounds like a trustworthy name, at the New Scotland Yard, and in charge of counter-espionage. He gave an account of this in his 1922 book, Queer People, saying that she eventually admitted to working for the Bureau. Initially detained in Cannon Row police station, she was then released and stayed at the Savoy Hotel. A full transcript of the interview is in Britain's National Archive at Kew and was broadcast with Mata Hari played by Eleanor Braun. as the independent radio station LBC in 1980. It is unclear if she lied on this occasion, believing the story made her sound more intriguing, or if the French authorities were using her in such a fashion that would not acknowledge her in such a way, but would not acknowledge her due to the embarrassment and international backlash it would cause. In late 1916, Mata Hari traveled to Madrid, where she met the German military attaché, Major Arnold Kahl, and later asked if he could arrange a meeting with the German Crown Prince. During this period, Mata Hari apparently offered to share French secrets with the German Empire in exchange for money, though whether or not this is because of greed or an attempt to set up a meeting with the Crown Prince Wilhelm remains unclear. In January 1917, Kahl transmitted a radio message to Berlin describing the helpful activities of a German spy codenamed H-21, whose biography is so closely matched Mata Hari's that it was obvious they were one and the same. The Bureau, the French intelligence bureau thing, intercepted the message, and from that information contained within, they identified H-21 as Mata Hari. The messages were in code that the German intelligence knew had already been broken by the French, suggesting that the messages were contrived to have Mata Hari arrested by the French. It's kind of, the plot thickens. General Walter Nicolai, a chief intelligence officer of German Imperial Army, had grown annoyed, and Mata Hari had provided no real intelligence instead of selling the Germans mere Paris gossip about the sex lives of French politicians. Instead, selling the Germans mere Paris gossip about the sex lives of French politicians. So, okay, so this was, sorry, I was missing that part. This is a German general that grew annoyed and generals and decided to terminate her employment by exposing her as a German spy to the French. In December of 1916, the French war minister let Mata Hari obtain the names of 6 Belgian agents. 5 were suspected of submitting fake material and working for the Germans, while the 6th was suspected of being a double agent for Germany and France. 2 weeks after Mata Hari had left Paris for a trip to Madrid, the Germans executed the double agent, while the 5 others continued their operations. So in December 1916, let Mata Hari obtain the names of 6 Belgian agents. 5 were suspected of submitting fake material and working for the Germans, while the 6th was suspected of being a double agent for Germany and France. So one of these were all fakes, and one of them was a double agent selling information to both sides. Mata Hari gets the information. Double agent, the one that actually is helping both sides rather than just faking helping the French, is executed. That's bad. Very bad. The Germans executed the double agent while 5 others continued operation. This development proved to the French intelligence agency that Mata Hari had communicated the names of the 6 spies to the Germans. On the 13th of February, 1917, Mata Hari was arrested in her room in the Hotel Elysee Palace on the Champagne in central Paris. She was tried on the 24th of July, accused of spying for the Germans and consequently causing the deaths of at least 50,000 soldiers. That's something to hang on your conscience. Although the French and the British intelligence services, I guess it's a war, so I don't know, make what you will of that, suspected her of the 50,000 stuff, that is. Although the French and British intelligence services suspected her of spying for Germany, neither could produce definitive evidence against her. A harlot, yes, but a traitoress, never. A phrase attributed to Mata Hari during the trial. It's very brave of her. Brave and stunning. Mata Hari's principal interrogator, who grilled her relentlessly, was Captain Pierre Bouchardon. He later prosecuted her at trial. Bouchardon established that much of the Mata Hari's persona was invented. Far from being a Javanese princess, Mata Hari was a white Dutch national, a fact he used as evidence of her dubious and dishonest character at her trial. Yeah, I guess, I don't know, maybe a little bit. Mata Hari admitted to Beauchardon that she had accepted 20,000 francs from a German diplomat and lover as reimbursement for belongings taken from her by the German imperial authorities. Beauchardon claimed that this was, in fact, payment for her spying for Germany. In the meantime, Captain Nadeau had been preparing a case against his former agent by casting all of her activities in the worst possible light, going so far as to engage in evidence tampering. Following the failures of the Nivelle offensive and the massive strikes, France was badly shaken by the great mutiny of the French army in the spring of 1917. Didn't know that was a thing. The country was close to collapsing from war exhaustion. Having one German spy to blame for everything that went wrong in the war was convenient for the French government, and Mata Hari seemed the perfect scapegoat. The case against her received maximum publicity from the French press and led to her importance being greatly exaggerated. Canadian historian Wesley Wark stated in a 2014 interview that Mata Hari was never an important spy and the French military failures had nothing to do with her. They needed a scapegoat, and she was a notable target for scapegoating. The British historian Julie Wheelwright stated that she really did not pass on anything that you couldn't find at a local newspapers in Spain. So she was just an inept traitor. And I don't know. It does look like there's a lot of stuff that seemed kind of unfortunate at the very least. Did she like they said that she didn't seem, according to this, to really say anything of note to anyone, anywhere, anytime. Described Mata Hari as an independent woman, a divorcee, a citizen of a neutral country, a courtesan, I don't know, and a dancer, which made her a perfect scapegoat for the French, who were then losing the war. She was held up as an example of what might happen if your morals were too loose. Claiming her innocence, Mata Hari wrote to the Dutch ambassador in Paris, "My international connections are due to my work as a dancer, nothing else, because I really did not spy. It is terrible that I cannot defend myself." A difficult moment for Mata Hari during the trial occurred with her lover Maslow, by now deeply embittered as to the result of losing his eye in combat, declined to testify for her. Wow. And told her that he did not care whether she was convicted. Oh, you fickle bastard. When Mata Hari learned that Maslow had abandoned her, she fainted. Her defense counsel, a veteran international lawyer, Edouard Clunet, faced impossible odds. He was denied permission to cross-examine the prosecution's witnesses, or to examine his witnesses directly. Beauchardon used the fact that Zelle was a woman as evidence of her guilt, saying, "Without scruples, accustomed to making use of men, she is the type of woman who is born to be a spy." Mata Hari has often been portrayed as a femme fatale, the dangerous, seductive woman who uses her sexuality to manipulate men effortlessly, but others view her differently. In the words of an American historian, Norm Palmer and Thomas Allen, she was naive and easily duped. It might be an oversimplification. She does seem to have been very much a worldly sort of woman, I guess. So, like, effortlessly manipulating men, I don't know about that, but she was, a harlot, as she says. Although the news reports following the execution claimed that she had admitted to spying for Germany, Mata Hari actually never made no such confession. She maintained throughout her ordeal that she had never been a German spy. At her trial, Mata Hari vehemently insisted that her sympathies were with the Allies and declared her passionate love for France, her adopted homeland. In October 2001, documents released by the archives of MI5, British counterintelligence, were used by a Dutch group, the Mata Hari Foundation, to ask the French government to exonerate Mata Hari, as they argued that the MI5 files proved she was not guilty of the charges she was convicted of. A spokesperson from the Mata Hari Foundation argued that at most, Mata Hari was a low-level spy who provided no secrets to either side, stating, "We believe that there are sufficient doubts concerning the dossier of information that was used to convict her to warrant a reopening of the case. Maybe she wasn't entirely innocent, but it seems clear that she wasn't a master spy whose information sent thousands of soldiers to their deaths, as has been claimed." Execution. Mata Hari was executed at the moat of Château de Vincennes by a firing squad consisting of 12 French soldiers just before dawn on the 15th of October 1917. She was 41. According to an eyewitness account by British reporter Henry Wales, she was not bound, and she refused a blindfold. She defiantly blew a kiss to the firing squad. What a woman. Something to be said for bravery in any case. 1934 New Yorker article reported at her execution she wore a neat Amazonian tailored suit, especially made for the occasion, and a pair of new white gloves. Though another account indicates she wore the same suit, a low-cut blouse, and a tricorn hat ensemble, which had been picked out by her accusers for her to wear at trial, and which was still the only full, clean outfit which she had in prison. Neither description matches the photographic evidence. Wales recorded her death, saying that after the volley of shots rang out, slowly, inertly, she settled to her knees, her head up always, and without the slightest change of expression on her face. For a fraction of a second, it seemed she tottered there on her knees, gazing directly at those who had taken her life. Then she fell backwards, bending at the waist, with her legs doubled up beneath her. A non-commissioned officer then walked up to her body and pulled out his revolver and shot her in the head to make sure she was dead. Okay. All right, that was Mata Hari. Moving on, we have I know I was playing Voidling Bound. I think I'm going to play Strange Brigade. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that one. It's a kind of a, I don't know, Indiana Jones-esque, but not Indiana Jones. Kind of that genre of time. All right. Now, let's see what we got here. Just set up this thingy, shan't I? To get these cords untangled here. All right. Why not? How you gonna keep them down on the phone? Wait a second. Oh, it's saving it. I think I want to start a new one, actually. So it does save. Huh. Does it? It does. All right.
A quick pause to the proceedings.
There we go. There we go.
Ho ho! What thrilling tales and awe-inspiring adventures await our heroes today! Tally-ho, Brigade! There's work here to be done.
That's up quick.
Strange Brigade? More like Strange Break Aid. Eh? Eh?
That's funny. All right. No, to whom it may concern, I think, I kind of want. I just want to start it over again. I should see if I can get the sound where it needs to be. All right. There we go. Okay, what do you do here? That's something kinky nice. I got in DLCs. Okay, so here's the recap. A bungling amateur archaeologist has meddled in things best left undisturbed, and our agent assigned to report on his activities has fallen ominously silent. Investigate immediately, Brigade. Okay. There. That's the gist of it. Oh, here we go. Nice.
The Strange Brigade, on their way to devil knows where, at the start of yet another thrilling yarn of death-defying deading doom.
Egypt again, eh? No rest for the wicked.
Evil never rests, so nor can we.
Just as long as it goes better than that mess at Patagonia.
Patagonia, eh? How intriguing. I wonder what...
Hush, Alia. Here's your ladyship.
Thank you, Gracie. Yes. Egypt again, Professor De Quincy. And this is why.
Egypt, land of ancient secrets and mummified mysteries.
Veronica Brownridge. Some of you probably owe your lives to the valuable undercover work she does for the department.
Veronica, an invaluable contributor to the brigade's efforts.
Her last assignment was to join the dig expedition of Sir Edgar Harbin, a wealthy amateur Egyptologist, searching for the legendary tomb of Seteki.
Seteki?
You can see his reaction.
Black-hearted like fiend.
Off.
Yes. The infamous Witch Queen of ancient Egypt. Her final resting place has been lost for millennia. Miss Brownridge's task was to ensure it remained so, but her last communication indicated that Harbin had found the tomb and was about to open it. We haven't heard from her since, and must now fear the worst.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Prepare yourselves, Brigade. Secure the dig site and find the tomb. If Harbin has indeed opened it and freed the thing imprisoned inside, then who knows what horrors you will soon be facing.
A plucky brigade agent missing, and some damn fool possibly setting free an ancient evil. Time to call on the services of the Strange Brigade.
See, the last time I played this, they had some sort of weird tutorial at the beginning too, but I don't know if they eliminated that since. Or this thing where you were landing and then you...
Oh, what thrilling tales and awe-inspiring adventures await our heroes today.
Hogwarts Legacy or something.
Tally-ho, Brigade! There's work here to be done.
I could have sworn there was some sort of tutorial thing.
Bloody hot here. This is going to be worse than a bank holiday weekend in Margate.
Yoink.
Blocked in already, by wood no less. Curses, is this the end for our heroes? Ah, success! Well played.
Explosion.
Soon have this spent down the bookies.
I think I already collected some of these collectibles.
Bridge out! This awkward obstacle will have to be overcome some other way. Magical moggies! What tantalizing treasures are they hiding?
I never knew what moggies meant.
9 lives won't save that beast.
Cats, right?
What good has you got for Frank?
Oh, jolly good. A nice bit of reading. That's always fun.
All right. Professor Archimedes, De Quincey Adams hands shook as he accepted the fine porcelain teacup and listened to the voice of the woman sitting opposite him. Such an awful business, Professor. Your entire university expedition lost. All those lives going snuffed out. I should have listened to your warnings, he sobbed. I should never have taken them to that terrible place. Perhaps, little Lady Imelda. That cannot be undone now. What you can do, however, is help me ensure that others do not make similar mistakes. The scholar looked up, his eyes eagerly for the chance of redemption. So I think there are, like, checkpoints in this, obviously.
Wood, the ancient nemesis of all adventurers. How will our heroes ever hope to bypass such a thing?
I think there's, I think there's base camps, I guess.
Huzzah! Onwards, strange brigade. There's adventure to be had.
Chapter.
Oh my! What's this? Good Lord! Nefarious necromancy! What horrific hocus-pocus summons these cadaverous creations back to loathsome life?
They're
bloody mummies. I might have known. Ammo, cracking stuff.
Cracking stuff. They'd effectively have like body-specific reactions, which is kind of a cool notion.
They don't know where you went there.
They're like body-specific reactions. Where I think you were shooting the leg of something, and it was literally just like I'm trying to remember what it was.
The spoils of victory.
Nice.
Magic. It's only bad when it's not our side using it.
Mm-hmm. See, I think that's something they added too. Like, I don't remember that being there. Maybe they just added earth. Break that stuff. Alright. Ow. Magical moggies. What's that?
I had a cat once. Once.
That's cool.
Hello, that looks rather interesting.
And we casually whip out the magic.
A locked gate? An abandoned camp? The plot thickens.
Banana! Okay.
Blades of glory! I can think of a few good uses for the. Oh, well spotted!
For the love.
All for Frank.
Nice.
Resupplying. See all the boats? One of them missing. That's a bad sign.
Thingy jump out of one of these things. Like have a skeleton jump out of those. Did you guys ever remember in Dark Souls, the mimics? That was one of the most annoying. Like it's fun, but annoying as all get out too. Worst timing possible. All right.
Hello, what's this then?
Duck, whatever the thingy is. All right.
Cracked it.
Dynamite! Look sharp! By Jove, they've a full amulet!
Lovely stuff.
An obscure find, to be sure, but well worth the effort. An ancient antiquity. A new addition for the brigade private collection, methinks.
Alright. Now, I think I can make some upgrades.
Definitely having this.
I didn't pick up that other one. I should have, probably. I didn't need it at the time, though.
This will be useful.
From this fantastical fear armory, you can outfit yourself with any unlocked weapons and equipment you have at your disposal, as well as change your equipped amulet. Also, you should uncover any magical gems on your travels. Should you uncover any magical gems on your travels, this is the place to fuse them with your weaponry. Again, I do not think that was a part before. Alright, let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. What does this do? Blessing the guide here. Deal increased damage to your foes. Bring the hammer down upon the skulls of your enemies. Extra damage on headshots. Good enough for headshots. Alright. I don't suppose you can... Marchador TTT. 45 automatic. How am I gonna beat that? Dynamite. Glacier Bomb.
shock grenade, cluster grenade. Alright. I think that's all we're going to do for today. Sorry, it was a bit of a eclectic stream, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And I got started. Well, I kind of had some interregnum, so this is running a little bit late in my day. So, in any case, thank you guys for watching, and you have a lovely weekend. What the shit?
Taking a bit of a breather, I see.
I'm hoping that saved it, because I think that's how you would save it, right? You get to the... Yeah, continue. We're good. We are golden. How do I exit here? Oh. Yes. I exit to desktop. Anyways. Again. Bye. Oh, why am I saying bye? I'll just cut it off.